Unter welchem Namen soll ich denn Ihre E-Mail eintragen?
Na, unter meinem natürlich, Adolf Hitler.
Sorry, wenn ich jetzt nochmal nachfrage, aber heißen Sie wirklich so?
Nein, ich heiße natürlich nicht wirklich so. In Wirklichkeit heiße ich Schmuel Rosenzweig.
Na, das ist doch super. Schmuel ist doch doof. Schmuel schreibe ich das.
Okay, so in this video, I actually want to explain to you why this movie, Loco is Back, or it's called Ist wieder da in German. I want to explain to you what makes this movie great, in my opinion. So, from a historical perspective, from a perspective of a guy that studied history and that loves history, this movie is to me great because it portrays Hitler very accurately, and I'll explain throughout this video why I think so. And also from a psychological perspective, the movie is great. So for people interested in psychology and sociology, this movie is also very interesting because the scenes that are filmed on the streets of Germany are actually interactions with real people, and the premise of the movie is to see how people would react to a comedian dressed as Hitler that's impersonating Hitler. But of course the premise of the movie is that real Adolf Hitler somehow wakes up in Germany in 2014 and is now interacting with people, and many of those interactions are actually real. And of course most people are just looking at it as a joke, and we definitely shouldn't condemn those people. I mean, there are even some parts of the movie where Hitler greets people with like Sieg Heil, and some people answer by raising their right hand, but I don't really think that those people are neo-Nazis or fascists. Most of them are just joking, of course, but there are a couple of scenes that really make you wonder, like that do show how easily you can manipulate people into violence. So there is a scene where Hitler, the actor that's playing Hitler, decides to address the German soccer hooligans, football hooligans that are mostly, I would assume, extreme nationalists or just violent people, and they kind of cheer when they see Hitler. And one leftist dude starts protesting against Hitler and like shouting stuff like, hey, this is not funny, you shouldn't be dressed as Hitler. And then the actor actually points at the guy and says, he's a traitor, hang him. And the soccer hooligans actually start beating the guy. And I was shocked to realize that that was real footage, actually. The guy really got beaten up and it ended up in a movie. So from that perspective, the movie is also very interesting just by seeing how real world humans would react to a guy that's dressed up as Hitler and that's really never leaving his character, that's just continuing to be Hitler all throughout the movie. But of course most of the movie is actually scripted, and what's to me brilliant about the movie is that the guy that made the movie and the guy that wrote the book, actually the movie is based upon a book. Well, it's obvious that they really did study Hitler, and there are two examples that show this. First of all, there is this great scene where Hitler is interviewed by the German press, and before speaking, he's just staring at the camera, creating an uncomfortable silence. And that's what real Hitler used to do. He would stare at the masses, and then after the silence gets uncomfortable, he would scream something. And one of his most famous speeches actually begins with Hitler just staring at the people for a few minutes, and then he shouted something, one could say actually pretty enigmatic. He screamed, I am in you and you are in me. And there are many interpretations of what he meant. Of course, he meant to say, I'm one of you, I came from the people, I was a soldier just like you, I was a worker, I was a nobody, and now I'm a somebody, message that many people at the time and even today can relate to. Maybe he also meant to say something like, I perfectly embody the interests of the German people, or some historians even say maybe he was talking about some mystical force. Maybe he was talking about actually some like magic shit that he believed in, that in some weird way his soul truly does appear in the German people. We can't be sure what he meant, but okay, that scene was actually very realistic. That scene in which Hitler just stares at the camera and then he continues to speak. And what they also did brilliantly is Hitler, he didn't open in the movie, he didn't open his speech with hate speech. He didn't start by just screaming like, yeah, we should kill the Jews, which is how most comedies would, I'm willing to bet, most comedies would probably portray Hitler as the guy that just screams about the Jews, or about, I don't know, gypsies or gay people or communism or whatever. But he actually starts the same way he started in real life. First, he just gives you he just lays out a basic case that there is something wrong with German society. He says, look at the unemployment, look at the immigrants creating chaos. And there is actually a legitimate critique of what Angela Merkel did when she let millions and millions of immigrants in Germany without without getting approval from other states within the European Union. And now, once you let people enter your country, since that's how European Union works, then those same people can travel to other European countries. So there definitely is a legitimate critique of what Angela Merkel did, and that's what many far-right parties exploited. Although their solutions are probably something like complete closure of the borders, which is too extreme, which just wouldn't be good for the economy. But I digress. So my point is, Hitler actually started with real world problems. He started to talk about unemployment, about how people are desperate, about how the crime rates are going up, about how the immigrants are not accommodating to the German customs, which is also partially true. But of course his solutions would probably be something horrible if if we presume that Hitler is still the same guy, which is essentially the premise of the movie. And yeah, I definitely, I won't spoil the movie for you. I won't tell you how the movie ends, but there is an interesting question that we, the viewers, can ask at the end of this movie, and that is, all these people throughout the movie, real people that in a way jokingly support Hitler, and some of them even for real, a legitimate question is, how worried should we be about it? Should we just dismiss most of it as jokes, or is there real potential for fascism to come back in a big way? And what's also kind of brilliant about this movie is older than both Brexit and Donald Trump winning the elections, and many people watching it might, without actually looking at how old the movie is, might just assume that this movie is a critique of Trump or Brexit. But this movie in a way predicted that the immigration crisis is going to lead to a rise in far-right populism, which, okay, one could say it's not such a hard thing to predict, but still, the movie should be given credit. And also the way in which Hitler used the social media in this movie actually reminds me very much about it reminds me very much of Donald Trump. Now, of course, I'm not saying that Trump is as bad as Hitler, but just the way that both characters, and I'm comparing him with a fictional character of this movie, the Adolf Hitler of 2015, actually realized that by saying controversial things and making like absurd jokes that are half serious, you can get media attention. And once you get media attention, that's actually good for you, even if the media is criticizing you. And is in this day and age, it actually could even benefit you if the mainstream media hates you, because then many people will automatically support you, and that's kind of what, to an extent, started happening in this movie. So Hitler uses all this bad attention he's getting to actually become even more popular, which I'm kind of surprised to say is something that I would argue most far-right politicians in recent years are doing. So the movie also offers us perhaps a critique of how the social media and media generally are approaching their topics, and perhaps is critiquing the simple fact that the media is generally focused on bad and controversial things, and not on good things that maybe aren't that interesting. But okay, all in all, I would definitely recommend you this movie. And yeah, as a historian, I can tell you that this movie portrays Hitler actually very accurately. And that's all for this video. See you in the next one.